afternoon, flosstube. This is Gem Stitch here for my April-May update. I get stuck every time, don't I? So there's lots to talk about in this video today. Trying to hold the again. Lots to talk about. Some life-changing things for me. So we're going to put it down to new beginnings. Where that will lead, I don't know, but certainly lots of positive things but very different things for me at the moment. So I'm going to keep this to stitching as much as possible, but as I said, lots to talk about, so let's get started. I'd like to first off say thank you to everyone that follows me, everyone that comments, everyone that gives me a thumbs up on my video. You don't know how important in a way that is. I mean, as much as I do it for myself as a record and in a way to help keep me motivated, as I am so motivated by you guys, I do feel that sometimes I don't, because I don't comment on a lot of videos, and I do try to comment on everybody that comments on mine. I just want you to all know how much I really do appreciate the time that you take to leave such wonderful messages. That doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you very much. So the lighting here is a little bit weird, as you can tell. It's very hot, hence the hair. It's very hot today. Muggy hot, not sunny hot. About 2 seconds ago there's a little bit of sunshine and then it's gone like overcast and grey. But today is my opportunity to do this video before it actually turns into June, so I'm going to do it today. First off, I've been making these videos for possibly about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years now, and I don't mention my name very often, other than Gem Stitch, because that is my channel name. I am sort of careful as to where I put my personal information as such, but it's not that I don't want people to know my name. Obviously lots of people refer to me as Gemma or Gem, hence Gem Stitch, but if you're part of Stitch Mania, you'll probably see that occasionally I do comment and a completely different name comes up, because obviously I'm logged on as my actual name. So to make it easier, and I didn't do this beforehand, which I probably should have done, I'm actually going to, excuse me while I lean across you, write it down on a bit of scrap. So if you ever see me on Stitch Mania, as I know a lot of you are part of that group, the name that will actually come up is, I'm not going to put my last name because if you're on Stitch Mania you'll know it anyway. So the name that will actually come up, and I'm hoping this will be the right way, that's a G, sorry, is Gemina. It is a name, guys, but yeah, that's my actual name. So if you see me on Stitch Mania and you think, that's a bit weird, that name, blah blah blah, it is actually me, it is actually my name. Hence why people shorten it to Gemma or Gem. But yeah, Gemina is my actual name. So because I've noticed, and actually I'm going to do a shout out, and I probably could have done my research better, but I've noticed I'm not very good with names myself. So I really do try and remember the names of people. It's always helpful in your comments, if you don't mind, if you sign off, leave your name, because some people do, and it's so much easier because I feel like it's personal if your comments aren't actually in your original name and they're in another name, like mine, Gem Stitch. I find it easier to be a bit more personable to you, but that's entirely up to you. I'll quite happily reply to your comment regardless. So that's kind of like just a little something that I just wanted to say. This month, as I said, has been a bit chaotic, life-changing, all these different things, new beginnings, new steps. So I'm just going with the flow, excuse me, right now, because I don't think I've got much of a choice, really. I've made decisions, and I think they're for the right reasons for me. So, but how that's going to change my future or I don't know. So basically, I'm just going from there. That's it. Finishes. I've had quite a few fully finished this month, or nearly finished, almost fully finished. I have a couple of ideas that I wish to add to them, but it's not really the right season to get the stuff and this sort of thing, so there's other options open, but generally I've finished quite a few things. Obviously I did Stitch Mania, I did 12 days, and it was a challenge for me. I don't feel bad about having 12, I actually had 11, but that's another story, about having so many new starts, because they were ornaments, and as I'd said in my Stitch Mania video, a lot of them was already predestined to be started anyway, so I don't feel bad about it. The challenge was actually for me stitching 12 days straight. Obviously I worked, so I didn't get to stitch all day, unfortunately. But for me, that was the biggest challenge, was to actually make sure that I stitched at least something every day for 12 days, which is quite interesting and informative at the same time. So what did I finish? Well, I actually finished one of my starts in Stitch Mania, and therefore it's almost completely finished, although I do want to add maybe something in the corner, and that was a primitive hare pattern. It's called Yule, and it's going to be one of my little pillows where I put the little pocket in the side. So this is Yule, and this was done on 28 count, and I stained it myself. It was a blue anyway. I could have gone Christmassy with it. This is actually terracotta, this red. I could have gone Christmassy with it, but this is actually going to be staying out on my little display, which I'll talk to you about later. This will actually be staying out till sort of February, so I didn't want it to look like a Christmas decoration that I forgot to put away, so I kept it with the sort of frosty blue colours, but I'm thinking that I might add sort of a terracotta-y colour bow here, not Christmas red, so that way it doesn't, you get a little bit of correspondence to that. And I've just stuck because I've got a blue pin, but I'll get some more in the little pocket bit there. So that is Yule, and I actually managed to finish this obviously in one day, the Yule, and then I thought, well, I might as well make it up as I've got my sewing machine out. I may as well finish it. The one that was started again for Stitch Mania, but I finished it for the month, is Litha as well. And I love this bee fabric. I adore it. It's just so delicate. I really like it. I added a little charm that wasn't part of the design, but I added a little bee charm with the hive here. And then I did this on fabric that I dyed myself as well. I did change the colour of the wings here to match this fabric, so I wouldn't have had to change them, but I did because I wanted it to correspond a little bit more with the fabric that it was on. So that's actually been completed as well. And that one's finished. So that's for the summer solstice. And Yule is for the winter solstice. My next finish, these aren't necessarily in order either, was quite a big finish, and I wasn't sure. I was actually going to frame this, but I obviously didn't. Too late now. And that is something that I finished, and it was a Christmas stitch. And again, this is a primitive hare pattern. It's the Christmas Carol sampler. I stitched it on 30 count Weeks Dye Works in Baby's Breath. Excuse me. in baby's breath, and I stitched it with the recommended threads as well. And I actually turned it into a cushion, and I had some brown corduroy fabric, so just a what do we call it, envelope cushion I think you call it. It's the first time I've ever made one, but I quite liked it. And the way I did it was that I actually made the envelope cushion, and then I stitched this on top and then frayed the edges, making sure that obviously I stitched so that it wouldn't go into the design. And I really like this finish. I don't think, a bit like the Yule, it's not fully finished. I think that if I had added I have brought coffee with me, and I don't generally drink in my videos, but I may need to. I think a nice rustic holly or mistletoe or something like that in the corner would really set this off. So although it's finished, it's not fully finished. I think it just needs a little bit more for me. And obviously, being that it's an envelope pillow, I didn't make this great, so I've learned. But although it's an envelope pillow, it means that for storage I just take the cushion insert out and I can flat pack it away during Christmas. But obviously I've kept it up because so that I could show you maybe some hairy twine or something. It probably has a name. To me it's hairy string sort of interlaced around the border or something would look quite nice. So finished, probably needs a little bit of tweaking. But yeah, I like this. This isn't a cushion that people will be allowed to sit on because I'm just mean like that. Our sofas actually have the back part of the sofa, it almost has like a little ledge, and then you get the cushion, the back cushion that you sit on. So these are perfect. So in a way I can put lots of cushions at the back of the sofa where actually they're not going to have bums sitting on them or rubbing up against them. So that will be my plan of action for Christmas and as part of my Christmas decorations. So yeah, I was pleased with that, and something different that I've tried as well, and I was pleased with how that come out. My last finish for this month was, hold on, again something that I've never tried before. It probably actually needs a bit of an iron now, looking at it. Something that I've never tried before, and that was, I've made a wall hanging out of my cuore batticuore summer garden. And this is actually quite a wide pattern, hence why I didn't want to keep the panels all the same all the way round. So this is about 3 inches, and I literally just halved the 3-inch strip and put it down the side, and then I've done another 3-inch at the bottom, and then this bow probably needs adjusting, and then I added this blue bow. And the reason the blue bow goes really well with this fabric is because it is actually part of this fabric, and I've frayed it, probably needs a little bit more fraying, but I frayed it so that it would look a bit more shabby chic, because it's very shabby chic colours. So yeah, and I just put it on like a normal curtain tension pole with some, this stuff's great, it was like £1. I loved it, so I think I'm going to go back and get more. But yeah, so like I said, probably needs a bit of an iron, but that's finished, so that would be nice to put up in June. As I completely go out of camera shot just to put that back, that would be nice to go up in June, ready for summer. So that's it for my finishes, which is actually quite a few. 4, that's not bad. Some of them, like the Christmas Carol, has actually been hanging around not being finished for a long time, and it's nice to try different things. Yes, they're not perfect, but you learn as you go along. So you know, I'm pleased with, I'm happy with displaying them, so that's the most important thing. Next is, I'm looking, because I had to make notes because I'm trying for this not to be rambly. There's two shout outs that I want to make. There's lots of shout outs in this video, but as I said, I appreciate all of you, but particularly Michelle Farm Girl and Robert, who's changed his name to Robert Palace of Stitches. Both commented on my Sleepy Hollow, both mentioned me in their video, and I really do appreciate it, and I'm sorry that I haven't been able to respond back, telling you how grateful I am that you like my work and my design, and it's inspired you to want to start it. I haven't had a lot of time to stitch on it, unfortunately. Literally, there's a whole week this month. Considering Mania, there was a whole week this month where I didn't stitch on anything at all. So, it's been a weird month. I've got today and tomorrow to work on this. I'm quite pleased. Yesterday I finished the actual pattern in the middle. So this is all finished and all backstitch. So everything that I have left is border. So the border will come down here, come across, and then it sort of does a square for you to write the saying in the middle. So this is going to be a focus piece in August, and I would really like to get it finished by the end of August. So the more I can get done now, the less I need to do in August. And as I don't really know what I'm going to be doing, as I don't really know what I'm going to be doing then and how much time I'm going to have to stitch, I feel that if I can get what I can done now, then that's only going to be to the benefit. This is stitched on 28 count cashel linen. It's a hand dye by sparklies.co.uk, and it's in the colourway Winter Skies, and it is an opalescent, and I really do love this fabric. The only changes I've made, this is all stitched in DMC, although in the pattern it does give you the conversion for DMC, except the black, which I've stitched in anchor black, and the moon at the back, which it requests you stitch in Karen Water Lilies, I've stitched in glow in the dark DMC. So that's where I'm at with that one. Michelle Farm Girl did a great video on how to dye your own fabrics, but she also showed us what fabric she's going to be starting, which she did start Sleepy Hollow on, and it's beautiful. Really, I think it's going to look lovely, Michelle. Beautiful, beautiful, and the fact that you've dyed the fabrics just makes it all the more special and unique to you. So yeah, good luck with that. Lots of backstitching. I backstitch as I go. The only backstitch I haven't done is in the corner. You'll notice there's two spider webs, which are really long stitches, and I didn't want them to be rolled up in a frame for any length of time, so I'm leaving them to the end, like the beading. So, but yeah, I backstitched as I went along, because otherwise that would be an immense amount of backstitching. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think there's not too much else to tell you in regards of my stitching. So if you're only interested in my progress or any stitching finishes as such, then thank you very much for watching, and I really appreciate your time. The next part of this video, and I've made notes because I'm trying not to be rambly, is going to be about the stitching display and the idea of dough bowls and things like that. And someone did ask me about it, and I was going to do it in my next video, but I've decided to do it in this video because I just sort of needed to think about what I was going to say and those sort of things. So excuse me while I take a drink first. So, firstly, I'm new to this idea of displaying smalls and finishes. As you know, I didn't have that many small finishes, and at the beginning of the year I really craved some little things to put out and display, and then the idea sort of grew into that something every month would be nice, and that sort of idea. So that's it, sort of slowly evolved, and For me, I think the idea of this sort of these little displays will slowly evolve as well as you get inspired by other people, things around you, the seasons, what's available to you. Those sort of things will change all the time. As I made reference to in my other video, Christmas, when you first get your first home and you get your first tree, and obviously there's so many priorities going on, you want it to look nice, unless you're really lucky and you can get what you want, but you sort of go out and you just buy a big bauble set and you put it on the tree, and whether you have bows or tinsel or whatever. And then the idea is that you slowly build on that tree, whether it's ornaments that your children make, whether it's ornaments that are gifted, these sort of things, you slowly build on the basis of the tree. And that's how my tree's progressed throughout the years. It's been slowly built on. And in a way, that's how I see these tables. As you come across things, and it'd be like, oh, that looked really nice with this, or you'll slowly build, for me, you'll slowly build on your little display. Obviously, this is not a hard and fast rule idea of how to display a table. This is me totally winging it. This is the first year that I've ever done anything like this, so my displays aren't a finished, wow, this is amazing, this is exactly how I want it. Like I said, they're going to evolve, they're going to grow. As I add more stitching, they'll change, and that's what I like about it. It's sort of keeping your eye out for those little things that you think that look really nice on my table in this season. Or for me, I focused on the 4 seasons. So certainly there's you've got your spring season, which is very Easter heavy for me, so little bunnies and things like that. You've got your summer seasons, obviously your autumns, and then your winter. So if I was going to give you my idea of a table and what it should look like, these are sort of guidelines. Makes it seem like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. But this is sort of the guide that I kind of follow in my head and how I'm approaching it, so that if you're interested or was thinking about doing your own table, then that might be something that you consider. So firstly, talking about displays, a couple more shout outs. If you wish to be inspired, here are a few people that I find very inspiring. So of course, firstly you've got Vonna Pfeiffer, the Twisted Stitcher. She also has a blog spot. She's also on YouTube. It's great if you want to, for finishing tutorials, as we know. Great with colour combinations and getting those little small finishes looking really professional, obviously. She's a professional finisher, but really good ideas. And I've had many great inspirations from Vonna, so thank you, Vonna. The next one is Silvia, of course, beckisland. She's great. I love her. She brings me so much joy when I see one of her videos. She just, as soon as I see that it's posted, I just want to smile. She just makes me happy to watch her and her enthusiasm for her little small finishes, and also the ideas that she has and how she finishes and displays. She used a napkin holder, I believe, a little white sort of white metal napkin holder to display one of her displays, one of her little finishes, and it looked lovely. And really that's what I want to sort of talk to you about, is that idea of being inspired but also seeing what's around you and maybe using those too. Suzette, the primitive stitcher. I've got very much into primitive stitching, and Suzette is one of the, I believe your name's Suzette, sorry if it's not, correct me if I'm wrong. Her sideboard table displays of the primitive stitching, the Halloween, the autumn, all the seasons. She's got quilting, she's got lots of different things, beautiful. They're something to aspire to. They're really lovely, so I'd recommend that you go and check her videos out. Her stitching is wonderful as well, but her table displays and her seasonal displays, really lovely. And lastly, I didn't check your name, but the Night Owl Stitcher. I'm really behind on flosstube videos, but I think I've caught her latest one, I think, where she'd changed out her dough bowl because the cat wasn't happy that there was Easter in the dough bowl. Fair enough. She'd changed out her dough bowl that she had and put some little smalls in there with some fat, and it looked beautiful. And again, it's inspiring. It's these sort of ideas that make you think, oh, I really like that, or how could I alter that to my preference? So to sort of break it down so that it's not too rambly, and saying it from my point of view, and of course everybody's is going to be different. First things that you need to consider is your space options. Where are you going to do this little display? Is this little display going to be literally in a bowl? Is that literally the only display that you want to do? Or do you want to have that bowl as part of a bigger display on a table? Or is it that it's just, for me, it's the top of a trunk? Weirdly, I don't have windowsills in my house. My windowsills are on the outside of my house because I have sash windows. So we don't have windowsills on the inside. And not that I'd necessarily recommend that you put anything stitching in the window anyway, because if you do get a lot of sunlight, it could bleach the fabric over a period of time. But that being said, I don't actually have an awful lot of storage space, like any space, shelves or tabletops that aren't in regular use for other purposes. So the trunk that I've got, and I will show you pictures, I have one trunk on top of another, and I have now dedicated that little space to my seasonal table. My seasonal table at the moment, because I've only really got one ornament per month and I'm sort of trying to catch up throughout the year, so at the moment you've only got one finish generally on it at any given time. So I'm following, for me, the colour system that I'm following is to do with the season. So for me, obviously you've got December, which is Christmas. That will vary depending on your theme, what you like, things that inspire you, and also whether you live in the northern or southern hemisphere will also change as to sort of colours that you like for Christmas. So for me it's traditional Victorian style, it's dark greens, it's golds, it's the Christmas reds, some purples, anything that's quite ornate and heavy in colour reminds me of Christmas. But going into January and the beginning of February, or towards the end, it's icy, it's the brown, it's not dead, it's dormantness of the foliage that's around you. So it's that sort of twinkle in the ice that you get, or the snow, if we get snow. It's the cool blues, it reminds me of the cool tones. So I'm more likely to dress my table, although I didn't do that this year. Like I said, it's real new to me, but I would be more inclined to dress my table in sort of brown foliage, not flowering in any way, whites, ice blues, silvers, hence why I did the Yule the way I did it. Because although winter is December, January and February, you've got the Christmas period in December, which is more, for me, more sort of, for want of a better word, like the deeper, the darker, the richness tones, which then leads into that dormant beginning stage of January and February, which then takes us on to spring. And I did do a spring table, or an attempt at a spring table, and I will insert a picture here. So hopefully you'll get an idea, and like I said, I'm new to this, so please be gentle. Again, for me, spring is obviously Easter. It tends to encompass Easter a lot more. I think ice cream colours, as well as I think yellows and greens, things like daffodils and all the things that come up in spring. Depending on where you are, that could be completely different, and the colours that will come up will be completely different to where you live. And I believe you should be inspired by your surroundings. So, I mean, again, no hard and fast rule with this, so you do what you want. But that's the colours. So obviously I chose to use my vase to put yellows and greens and mixed it in with a bit of white, and those were like, yeah, they're not the best realistic flowers, but they pack a punch because they're quite big. I think they're meant to be dahlias. They pack a punch because they're quite big, and they were £1 each, and it's great for just adding that burst of springtime colour. So that's what I did there. The wooden box, I'll see if I can zoom in on one of the pictures. The wooden box, and this is what I mean about using what you have, I should have pulled it out, was actually something that I bought for Christmas, which is when you go Christmas shopping and you get a selection of cheeses, and they're often wrapped in wax to have at the Christmas table, and they put them in this like little wooden box with the straw behind, and it was all sealed up and wrapped. So we bought that selection to have at Christmas, and when I took all the cheeses out, it was like, oh, I'll keep that box because that might come in handy. And it did. I actually used it to put some little eggs in, and also my pillow that I'd made, my Ostara pillow that I'd made for the springtime. So certainly it's the holders and the things that you want to use, just sort of, yes, the dough bowls are lovely, but there are other options, as so many of the other floss tubers have already shown you, that you can use, that you might already own, but you can be inspired to sort of bring in the colours. So yeah, that was sort of my spring, my concept on spring. And then for summer, again, I've only got one cushion. As I build on my collection of individual ornaments, I'll have more to add, so I can sort of pull out some of the fussiness as such, but I didn't want it to look empty. Now, 3 years in August this year, I will have been married to my husband, and our wedding was English country garden theme, and I actually made a lot of the wedding decorations myself. And to be honest, after the wedding was over, I was thoroughly sick of the sight of them, because it was just, I took on too much basically. It was exactly the day I wanted, and I was really happy, don't get me wrong, but leading up to that, it was just constant till 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, making. But yes, very personal, absolutely, and in that way I wouldn't have had it any different. So we literally boxed up all the wedding stuff and put it in the loft, so I've still got so much wedding stuff up there. Because I made a lot of the stuff, obviously I got to keep a lot of the stuff, and our theme was English country garden. The cat just wants to check that I've not gone stir crazy. No, Darcy. No. Because our theme was English country garden, it was very shabby chic, so there was lots of white metalwork, chandeliers, candelabras, and things like that, and they've all been put up in the loft. We couldn't afford, I wanted it to have lots of flowers, couldn't afford to have it all fresh flowers, and to then make it myself, it was just impossible. So I used a lot of fake flowers, but to make it not look so fake, I mixed them in, and you can get tutorials online for these, with these shabby chic flowers, which is basically almost like rosettes. Excuse me, still bits of glue on this one from where I made it from the wedding. And I used just scraps of fabric, buttons, beads, anything that I had, and I just glued these rosettes and then put them in with the other flowers like the roses and things like that to make up bouquets and things. And you'll see when I insert a picture, which I'll probably do now. So I insert that here. So this is my take on the summer table, and that ball is one of the balls that I made to decorate one of the wedding tables, and it was made up of roses and buttons and things like that. It was very shabby chic in style. So I've used that. I pulled it out. It was a little bit squished, but I pulled it all out and I thought that would be great as a summer table. The bird cage that's next to it, that was also at my wedding, so I used that. Again, it's got flowers wrapped around it. I just repositioned those a little bit, so I've used that as well. The basket in the front, where I've got one of my finishes, I just filled it up because obviously eventually you would add more than just one finish. I filled it up with things like these shabby chic flowers with the colours, schemes of the pinks and the deep pinks, and because it's summer, so in my eyes summer you could actually have any colour you wanted because it's summer. It's about full bloom, every colour you can think of, so you're not restricted. For me in summer you could have whatever you wanted. Of course you could do that all year, but I'm not going to keep saying that, but you know, this is my take on it. Eventually, as I make more ornaments and things, I will take out some of the flowers. It was just to make it look like something rather than just have one ornament stuck on that table. In regards to the dough bowls, I really do like them. You can get them here. They obviously go from extortionate money. Even when I had my little trip to Rye for my husband's birthday, which is a place in Kent in England, they even had one there, and it compared to what you pay on eBay, it was actually a good price. It was about £40. But I still didn't want to kind of pay that, and it was a little bit too deep for me. And bearing in mind that I've got this table that would have took up the whole table. So in regards to alternatives, as I've already said, there's lots of alternative boxes and things that you can use. I found this, and it was actually in a shop called Home Sense, which is, I believe it's a bit of a seconds shop, so they can get stuff from all over, but it's one of those where they don't necessarily have it ongoing. And this is what I bought. It's a really unusual shape. It's actually made of driftwood, but I thought that would look really lovely with a selection of ornaments in and whatever your foliage was that you preferred at the time. And I paid, and it's still got the sticker, £10. I paid £10 for that, and I could use that for all the different seasons. I'm not going to use it for summer. I'm definitely going to use it for autumn. I think it will look really lovely in the autumn. But you could use that for all seasons. But there's definitely finds out there. Just think outside the box. It doesn't necessarily have to be a dough bowl. The other alternative, which I actually bought after I changed my spring table, obviously you remember my little bunny that my husband bought me. He's so cute. So he'll be being used again. So the light's a little bit. He's just made of like a raffia, I think. He's adorable. I like him. The other find that I found was this. So this is like white chicken wire, basically, in a bowl shape with a bunny. It has a bunny on it. But I thought that this would look really cute if you sort of put this at an angle. Did something like that on the table, and then you could fill it with straw and then put some finishes in that, you know. And I wasn't going to leave it because it cost me £6. Obviously the conversion slightly changes, but £6 for something like that. Yes, I'll only use it sort of once a year, but for a couple of months. But it's really cute and sweet, and for £6, I'm not going to say no. Ironically, the best time to buy things, a bit like Christmas, the best time to buy things is actually when they've just gone out of season. So the best time to buy things for Easter is actually when Easter's finished, because sometimes, unless you really love it, things will be reduced and you'll be much more happy to pay the prices for things. Yes, you don't get to use it till the following Easter, but you've got something to look forward to change your display. So I think I've covered the space options. So I've got, like I said, I've got a trunk. Some people have dressers to do. Some people use shelves. Some people use little sideboard, or whether it just be something like a little bowl or something. That's entirely your preference, your choice, and what you have. I think they can all look beautiful and all look inspiring. So that's something certainly to consider. Your colour options, as I said, for me, it's seasonal. There's certain colours that I believe are much more representative of the season because of what I'm surrounded by and what's happening to nature outside. But should you say be in the southern hemisphere, that would be completely different. But there's no reason to oh, because it's summer it has to be like, you know, beach balls and things. Not necessarily. It could be whatever you're inspired by, because that's what's going to look better in your house, whatever you're happy with. Make do with what you have. There's probably lots of things, teacups, even a selection of old glass bottles. All these things can really set off what you're trying to achieve. There's things like eBay, well, yeah, but things like Google, Pinterest, all these places have such wonderful, inspiring ideas, and it's not necessarily that you have to replicate the scene, just a part of it. If there's just a part of it that you really like, and the colours and the colour combinations, then go for it, you know. Alternatives, as I said, things like the dough bowls are lovely. If you can stretch to a dough bowl, or you can get one at a great deal, like, that's fabulous. But there's loads of other alternatives that have already been discussed by so many floss tubers, and that's just my take on it. One was holding cheese for Christmas. The other one I picked up, it's driftwood, not a dough bowl, but you know, I think it will work for a fraction of the cost that I could get a dough bowl for. And that Easter one was just a find, and it was like, I'm not leaving that for £6. So those sort of things. Future ideas. The way the months fall for me, so as I said, December, January and February traditionally are Christmas months for me, winter months for me. I'm going to, but December's Christmas, so that has its own month. So that leaves 2 months for winter. Spring would be, so it's January, February, March, April, and possibly into May. I've changed my summer table in May already, but certainly March and April are very spring for me. So then you've got May, June, July for me as summer, even though it does actually run into August a lot, but August is harvest for me, coming towards the end of August. So I'm thinking much more of still the bright colours, but bringing in a bit more orangey and the burnt yellows and those sort of things, which will then lead you into autumn. September would obviously be in autumn, and then you've got October, which is Halloween. So for me that is your blacks, your purples, possibly your reds, but those sort of really Halloweeny colours. And November, again, you could stretch that out to autumn. Because I've not done it before, I don't know how far and when I'm going to sort of change things out. I might just do it at a whim. If the weather changes, I might feel like, no, I'm going to keep my summer table out a little bit longer. Or I might turn around and say, no, I'm going to change it now. There's no hard and fast rule, is my point. Future ideas. I'm not really a seaside stitcher. I don't generally stitch. I have stitched a mermaid, but I don't generally, I'm not into mermaid stitching or seaside scenes or anything like that. But there's some really lovely little mermaid smalls that have come out recently, particularly by Fairy Wool in the Wood. The Primitive Hare has got some beautiful mermaid patterns, and many others. And I'm finding that I'm really drawn to them, so I am considering maybe taking out one of the months where I have, it's a 3-month season, and having a month of just doing like a beach theme, like a seaside theme. That might be good. I haven't got anything for that, but you never know. See, now that thought's in my head as I go out looking around things like charity shops or what goes in the sale and things like that, because I am quite thrifty with my finds. I like to get a good deal. I don't mind paying full price for things that I love, but I also like a bargain too. So yeah, I may even do a beach theme, but that won't be till next year, I don't believe. So yeah, there's plenty of things. There may be things like a woodland theme that you'll be really inspired by, or something that's near you that inspires you, or just whatever makes your heart smile. Then that should be what your stitching table should include. And even if you do other crafts like crochet, knitting, quilting, let that be part of the display, you know. So hopefully I haven't rambled on too much. I hope I've been of help, and the way that I approach, this is again not the exact way, but the way I approach things, and the way that I'm slowly building my tables and my displays, and all I really need now is to crack on and make some more little ornaments, really. But so thank you for watching if you've made it this far. It is quite a long video, I do apologise. Thank you so much for commenting. If you've got any questions, then do please ask. And I will catch up with you soon in June for my June update. So take care, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.